We are currently in the period of the 3 weeks, Bin Ha-Metzarim, days of reflection on the destruction of the temple. In the upcoming Haftarot, we are reading the 3 Haftarot of rebuke. We began the words of Jeremiah in the last parasha, and the coming 3 Haftarot touch upon 3 senses. One speaks of speech, the second speaks of hearing, and the third speaks of sight. There is an opportunity here for us to reflect on the destruction and to truly feel these days. We need to feel them, just as we feel it when we don't go to a wedding or don't listen to music. Those who make things easy for themselves feel it less, those who refrain, they feel. It is a time for introspection, to feel these days. We are currently in 2 Parashiot, Mattot-Masei, and we will touch upon an idea from Mattot and an idea from Masei. Parashat Mattot, the power of speech. The central theme of Parashat Mattot is the laws of vows Nedarim. The verse states, "And Moses spoke to the heads of the tribes of the children of Israel, saying, This is the thing which the Lord has commanded." What is this parasha about? Vows. Why is it called Mattot, tribes, staffs? What is the connection? A Mattah is a staff, it is a tribe. Why are the heads of the tribes mentioned here? Rashi asks this question and says, Moses spoke to the heads of the tribes, he showed respect to the leaders by teaching them first, and then the rest of the children of Israel. Respect for the leaders. Rashi offers a novelty here. How do we know this applied to all commandments? The Torah says, "And Aaron and all the princes of the congregation returned unto him, and afterwards all the children of Israel came near." Meaning, all the teachings in the Torah were given first to the leaders and then to everyone else. So what is the question? Why did the Torah write it here? To teach that the annulment of vows is done by an expert, or if there is no expert, by 3 laymen. That is why it is mentioned here. The Netziv offers a completely different explanation. The sages say it is a mitzvah for the court to ensure the person who made a vow stands by their word. If a person made a vow and does not keep it, there is a mitzvah to force them. The Netziv asks, why specifically here? There is an obligation to force compliance with all mitzvah. If a person is commanded to take the lulav, today it's not pleasant to say it, but what is the law if someone says, I don't want to take the lulav? They force him. They force him until, well, not quite to the end. The authorities, the Rambam, note that they force him, up to, but not including, because we want him to eventually do it. But the point is that there is coercion regarding mitzvah. A Jew is obligated. The Netziv offers a very powerful idea. It is human nature to make vows during times of distress, and later, when one prospers, they forget to fulfill the vow. This is a great lesson. The sages say it is better not to vow, but in times of distress, it is good to vow, provided you remember that you were in a state of distress. The natural tendency is to forget what you vowed. A story about the gravity of speech. I want to tell 3 stories. The first story. In the time of the Baal Shem Tov, it is told that Rav Zev Kitzis, a dear Jew about whom there are many beautiful stories, came to him. He was connected to the Baal Shem Tov and needed to marry off his daughter. The Baal Shem Tov asked him, Nu, what about your daughter? He said, Rebbe, I have no money to marry her off. The Baal Shem Tov told him, send a messenger to the city of Iyasi and it will be fine. Say there is a dowry, everything is set. He sent one. The messenger went and praised Rav Zev Kitzis, saying he is a righteous man from a good family and has a dowry. Several proposals were made until one was accepted, a man who was a Torah scholar and from a wealthy family. The match was made. He came to the Baal Shem Tov, very happy. We made the match, thank God, Mazel Tov. But the Rebbe, and the money. It will be fine. Some time later, a letter arrives from the groom's father regarding the gifts for the groom, a watch, etc. He goes to the Baal Shem Tov. It will be fine. Later, another letter comes. Why are you ignoring me? If you continue to ignore me, the marriage is off. He goes to the Baal Shem Tov, who says, tell him that when they come here for the wedding, they will receive everything. Time passes, and they notify him they are coming for the wedding. He goes to the Baal Shem Tov, crying, Rebbe, they are coming, and I have nothing. The Baal Shem Tov says, it will be fine. As they were getting close, Rav Zev was walking toward the Baal Shem Tov's place and met a man asking for directions to the Baal Shem Tov. He said, come with me. When they arrived, the Baal Shem Tov said to the man who accompanied him, Zev Kitzis, I want to tell you a story. And the story is this: there was a Jew who was a timber merchant. He built rafts and sent them down the river. Once, returning from a large deal, he had 40,000 rubles. He fell asleep. The driver realized he was asleep, went off route into the woods, pulled out an axe, and told the merchant, "Give me the money." He said, "Take it." The driver said, "Now I am going to kill you, because if I don't, you will tell everyone I robbed you. Say your confession, Vidui Shma Yisrael, whatever you want, this is your end." The Jew began to say Vidui, and in the middle, he said, "Ribono shel olam, if you save me, I vow 1/10 of this money to charity, 4,000 rubles." He continued crying, and suddenly a rider came at full speed. The forest guard had heard the crying. He saw the Jew tied to a tree, arrested the driver, and saved the merchant. The merchant returned home, and forgot the vow. He had 2 children, a daughter and a son. His daughter passed away, and his son became deathly ill. Then, when his son was in critical condition, he remembered he needed help, but he had forgotten the vow. Before I finish the story, the Baal Shem Tov looks at the Jew standing next to him, Zev Kitsis, and asks, "Do you know this story?" He said, "Rebbe, it is true and certain from start to finish." And to whom should he give the 4,000 rubles now? Please, to Rav Zev Kitsis. He gave him the 4,000 rubles, 2,000 for the dowry, 2,000 for the wedding expenses, given generously. The vow was fulfilled. This shows the gravity of speech. But we learned not just about vows, we learned that a person's speech is a very serious thing. Today, there is a habit among teenagers to say, "I vow to you, Noder Leka." Who will win, Hapoel or Maccabi? I vow Maccabi. What are you vowing? Do you know the meaning, the price? Similarly with oaths. I swear to you, I was there at 1 o'clock. Were you there at 1, or 1:05? It sounds like nothing, but the Gemara says, when did they stop asking widows to take oaths? A widow who wanted to collect her marriage settlement ketubah had to swear an oath. The Gemara in Gittin tells of a widow who received a gold dinar from a poor man to keep safe during a famine. She put the coin in an empty jug. Later, she filled the jug with flour. She forgot about the coin. Time passed, and she used the flour to bake bread. A poor man knocked on the door, and she gave him all the bread. What was inside the bread? The gold dinar. Later, the poor man who deposited it returned. She said, "I swear that if I benefited from your gold dinar, may it be on the life of my son." Her son passed away. The Rima asks, why did her son die? She truly didn't. No, she benefited. The Tosafot say, she saved a tiny bit of flour because of the coin, benefiting by the value of a few cents. That was enough for the oath, even though it wasn't intentional, to be paid for with her son's life. They stopped requiring oaths. In principle, courts do not make people swear oaths today. How careful one must be not to swear. My teachers and masters, we are in the city of the patriarchs. Friday. Last week, a message on Friday afternoon. A woman swore such and such, how can her vow be annulled? First of all, honor to them for asking, and one must annul an oath, and one needs 3 people, and one must be aware of this. First of all, be very careful not to swear, it is so dangerous. And secondly, there is a way to annul it. How? A court of 3 people, tell them the vow, and they will annul it. I vowed in anger, I regretted it, I didn't intend it, I didn't want it, it can be resolved. Parshat-Masei, the journey of life. I want to add something about Parshat-Masei. Parshat-Masei is the parasha that closes the book of Numbers, and it begins with a long list of journeys. What is the idea behind this list? Rashi brings 2 completely different interpretations. Rashi says, these are the journeys of the children of Israel. Why were these journeys written? The first interpretation, to announce the kindness of the Almighty. Even though he decreed they would wander in the desert, don't think they were wandering aimlessly for 40 years without rest. There are only 42 journeys listed here. 18 were in the first year before the decree, and 8 were in the 40th year. That leaves 20 journeys over 38 years. That's 1 every 2 years. Not bad at all. Then Rashi writes, and Rabbi Tanchuma gave another interpretation. A parable about a king. We always use a parable about a king. It moves us from a place of misery to a place of royalty, something important. A king whose son was ill, so he took him to a faraway place to be healed. When they returned, the father began listing all the stops. We slept here, we became cold here, you had a headache here. This means you look back at the journey and see all the places you reached on the way to your healing, and you say, how every stop strengthened me, matured me, elevated me. In the moment of the journey, it is not pleasant at all. If someone is not feeling well, it's not pleasant. Financial hardship, health struggles, definitely not pleasant. But when you look back after the fact, you say, wow, I am a son of a king, and he took me to heal me. I had a friend, this relates to what follows, who went through a very difficult time this week. He was fired from his job, a difficult event. I told him, think that something, God forbid, had to happen to your son, what would you prefer? Of course, the difficulty of being fired, livelihood, it's not comparable, right? Why is this important? You get proportions in life. It's not pleasant, but think that there is God's hand here, there is divine providence in every difficulty you undergo. From this, I want to move to two wonderful interpretations of this parasha. 1. An interpretation of the Netziv. I heard it once from Rabbi Rabinowitz in Beit Haggai, and I saw it inside the Netziv, so wonderful, so precise. The verses say, and Moses wrote their goings out according to their journeys by the commandment of the Lord, and these are their journeys according to their goings out. You read it again, their journeys according to their goings out according to their journeys. Why? What does this express? The Netziv says in a brilliant way, the Jewish people went through three types of journeys when they left Egypt. The first journeys were from Egypt to the land of Israel, they were for a purpose. The second journeys were for the sake of the journey itself, to take us in the desert from place to place, not necessarily to reach a specific destination, but to move from where we were. The third journeys were again journeys on the way to the land of Israel. The Netziv says, these are their journeys, and Moses wrote their goings out according to their journeys. The point is the journey, not the destination. And now I want to take this to us. We have several types of journeys in life. And this parasha, as we will soon read in Hasidut and according to the Baal Shem Tov, signifies that every person has journeys they must go through. I am a fairly stable person, I don't like moving, but in the first 10 years of our marriage we moved 10 times. Later, at a housewarming, I heard Rabbi Natan Chai, the former rabbi of Itamar, bring a book on Kabbalah called Yalkut Yechili. Every move a person makes is a Gilgal, transmigration, cycle they needed to go through. And what is the idea? There are places you move to and you say, I understand what I needed to do there. And there are places, as the Netziv said, where the point is the transition itself. You needed to move. Every community I arrived at, I found another move inside. There is a reason for every move. Every person, every Jew, has a path they must travel in life. We don't know the path, but we do know that all the stations are directed. And when you enter this mindset, that all the stations of my life are directed and have a reason for me, for the completion of my purpose, my mission in the world, then you get a completely different view of what you are going through. We try in our intellect to understand what we want, but sometimes we are being led. The Holy One, blessed be He, leads us. And it is very, very important to get used to the thought that the Almighty is guiding us. How do we know if it's guided or if it's personal will? Right, so we use our intellect to reflect. But there are things that are constraints, sudden events. I told you about the incident this week. A friend was fired, suddenly. There is a divine process here, that you shouldn't be here and you need to move to another place, they didn't ask you. Sometimes a person has a choice, but even when a person chooses, there is a reason. What happened to their thoughts, not feeling good in this place or thinking another place would be better. I want to read a passage from the Netivot Shalom, in the name of the Degel Machain Ephraim, in the name of the Baal Shem Tov, things that set one's heart at ease regarding what every person goes through. He says, in coming to the holy books, this parasha of the 42 journeys of the children of Israel is one of the greatest parashiot in the Torah. First, get used to the fact that there is no extra letter in the Torah, no extra word. If this whole parasha seems superfluous, nothing is superfluous. There is a very precise journey here, containing exalted matters belonging to that generation and to future generations. We are made aware by the holy book Degel Machain Ephraim, the grandson of the Baal Shem Tov, in the name of his grandfather, the holy Baal Shem Tov, who identified that all the 42 journeys are present in every person from the day of their birth until their return to their world. Because from the day of birth and being taken out of the mother's womb, it is a form of exodus from Egypt, Yitziat Mitzrayim. And afterwards, one journeys from stop to stop until coming to the upper land of life. He concludes that the journeys were written in the Torah to show the straight path for the Jewish person, to know the path they should walk all their days, to journey from stop to stop. Every person must go through a sequence of points decreed for them. And the 42 journeys are eternal. That this parasha was said for every generation and for every individual who goes through 42 journeys in their life. The days of every individual's life are like the journey of the children of Israel, who went out of Egypt, the source of impurity, and journeyed 42 stops until they came to an inhabited land, the Holy Land, the source of holiness. Every individual goes through 42 journeys in their life according to their value and path. Thus, all the journeys were written in the Torah, a lesson for every generation and every individual that beyond the 613 commandments and other things a Jew is obligated to fulfill, we act through our Torah study, our tefillin, our tzitzit, we act out mitzvah, so they lift us up. One goes through 42 journeys in their life in which they must rise and grow from the day of their birth until they come to their world. Every journey makes us larger, every journey elevates us. And all those journeys stated in the Torah are eternal, they are all paths for a Jew on how to arrive, in their journeys on earth, to come out of the source of impurity and come to the source of holiness. You can tell miracles, there are secrets in Kabbalah, how there are names of God, the name of 42 that appears in all the journeys. But in understanding the simple meaning, the journeys are ours. We need to look at them with a good eye, to see that we are children of a king. And even if it seems strange to us at times, and things we don't understand, and every person has things they don't understand, the Almighty understands. Reflect with an eye of faith on everything we go through in this world. A story about divine providence. I wanted a good story about a journey, something simple I saw today. The Porat Yosef Yeshiva, 70 years ago, fell into difficulties. They appointed 3 of the yeshiva's rabbis, Rav Tzedakah, Chacham ben Zion Abba Shaul, and Rav Adash, of blessed memory, to be responsible, to be a committee to steer the yeshiva forward, to lead the yeshiva to a safe haven. They started working, and it started working, but like every good thing, there were prosecutors, critics. What now? Someone came and claimed that this committee of rabbis contradicts the will of Rabbi Abraham Yosef Shalom, the first benefactor of Porat Yosef. He sued them in court. What now? Rabbis like that, all Torah, not moving, what now, court? They arrived at the court, they needed to disprove the claim using the will, but the will was missing. They estimated it was burned in the great library of Porat Yosef, which in 1948 was in a fire that consumed the whole library. Where do we bring the will from now? They arrive in court, Rav Adash wants the will from his bag, and says, "Here is the will, open it and read." They open the will, first they bring it to the lawyer to confirm it's the original, they read the will. Nothing against the rabbis, everything is fine. The court approves them, releases them, they go outside. They ask Rav Adash, "Where did you suddenly conjure up this will?" Rav Adash says to them, "I am sitting at home yesterday, someone throws something through the window into the living room, I pick it up, this is the will." These are miracles, there is the hand of God, there is divine dispatch. If it was Elijah the prophet, if it was someone, I don't know, but to see the hand of God. Shabbat Shalom.